Somebody gave me great advice about my 401k when I was 25 years old. I was at Goldman Sachs, and they told me to put as much into my 401k as possible at a very early age and let the power of compounding impact that.
We had a question about Bitcoin and 401ks, so of course we went to Anthony Scaramucci, the investment manager and political heavyweight who the New York Post called one of the city's top power brokers. He launched his Bitcoin fund in January, and the timing could not have been better, as the price skyrocketed soon after. His high-profile SALT conference is in person once again at the Javits Center in New York, September 13th through 15th. We spoke with Anthony about Bitcoin, baseball, and how it feels to get roasted on Saturday Night Live. We also asked him about the exciting features at this year's conference. Anthony, I've asked you this question before. I'm going to ask you again. Is Bitcoin a retirement asset? It doesn't belong in 401k plans?
Well, listen, I think it does. I think that you have a piece of Bitcoin. It's volatile. But what I love about my 401k, somebody gave me great advice about my 401k when I was 25 years old. I was at Goldman Sachs, and they told me to put as much into my 401k as possible at a very early age and let the power of compounding impact that. And so if you think of Bitcoin in terms of where we think it's going and what it has done over the last 10 years, it's probably been the best compounding investment instrument of anything out there right now. So yes, you have a 10-year horizon. Certainly. If you have a 3-minute horizon, absolutely not.
Speaking of Bitcoin, Anthony, I know it's going to be a hot topic at the upcoming SALT conference, September 13th through 15th at the Javits Center. What do you got dedicated to the topic there, and what kind of sessions are we going to hear about?
Well, there's a ton of different things going on at the same time. You've got Sam Bankman-Fried coming, going to be talking about the exchanges. He just bought an American-based exchange called Ledger X. He's going to have a conversation about that. Of course, we've got legendary figures in the space like the Winklevoss twins, guys like Michael Novogratz. I don't know if you've heard of Pete Brigger. That used to be Mike Novogratz's old partner. He has over $1 billion personally in Bitcoin.
Wow.
He'll be interviewing Wenceslaus. And so there's a very large slug of crypto people at our event this year. And the main reason why is that I'm trying to upload as much educational content as possible. Obviously, we came into the space late October of 2020, and I think it's a process of education. By the way, we're very early. Institutions are not quite there yet. Individuals are there, but the saturation is very low. And, I think it's incumbent upon us that are Bitcoiners or crypto people. We own some Ethereum as well. I think it's important for us to be in the education mode. And so that's why you have so much of that at the SALT conference.
Kind of a boilerplate question here, Anthony, but what are you looking forward to most about the conference? What single session really stands out for you?
Well, I'm going to embarrass myself in front of your listeners and viewers. Okay, I am a diehard Met fan.
Yep.
And so you could probably see the pain on my face of the 55 years of fandom.
Sure.
But one of my closer friends, one of my closest friends, Steve Cohen, and fully disclosed, I have about $300 or $400 million in his fund. We've been friends for 2 decades. He bought my interest out of the Mets. I had a small minority stake. And so he's one of the most brilliant money managers in the world. He's now the owner of the New York Mets. And so I'm going to be interviewing him on stage in a fireside chat. And we're going to talk about baseball and investing. And did I mention that we were going to be talking about baseball? Because we're going to be talking about baseball. And so that's the thing that's got me as juiced up as anything. Now, I've probably upset all my other august guests by saying that. But let's face it, baseball comes first.
You're talking to a lifelong Red Sox fan here, so I feel your pain, even at the hands of the Mets. So, no sympathy here, Anthony.
Well, I mean, you've got more championships than we do in the last century. Let's put it that way. This being the 21st century, where we are a goose egg.
Understood. So you never shy away from the political arena, obviously. What are we looking forward to in that realm this year?
So, we're a little light on politics, actually. And people, I think the New York Post criticized me for that. But this is not a congressional midterm. This is not a presidential year. We usually are chock full of political people during those periods of time. So I think people are, I think the zeitgeist is closer to what's going on in Bitcoin and the zeitgeist and all that other stuff related to finance. But we do have John Kerry coming. He is the former Secretary of State and the climate czar. We're waiting for one or two people from the White House. The White House has accepted our invitation to send some delegates. We just don't know exactly who they are at this point. But some people will be from the White House. I extended an invitation to Secretary Mike Pompeo. Mike is a friend, and we may disagree on our position on Donald Trump, but I think he's a potential presidential candidate. I also think he's well versed in a lot of things that are happening globally that I think people would like to hear from. Eric Adams, the mayoral candidate who won the primary for the Democrats, will likely be the mayor, is going to open the conference for us on Monday the 13th. So those are some of the politicos that are going to be there.
And then what about the world of technology? I know that you've been big on AI in the past. Anything there?
We're working on it. I'm not ready to make the announcement. I don't have it solidified, but man, it would be a lot of fun if we get a confirmation from Elon Musk. We're talking to him.
Yeah.
And we can, and I know his feelings about AI. They're not as sanguine as some of the other people out there. But I don't have anything specifically related to AI, but we've got a ton of technology investors coming, including Thomas Lee from Fundstrat. We've got some of the guys coming from Andreessen Horowitz. Ro Khanna is coming, the congressman that has really been pushing for Bitcoin innovation. Governor Jeb Bush is coming, former Governor Jeb Bush. So nothing specific to AI this year unless I can make an announcement shortly about Elon Musk. And he's coming in for the MetLife ball. And so my fingers are crossed that he's going to accept my invitation and come speak on our behalf.
You said you were light on politics. It certainly doesn't sound like it, to be honest with you.
Well, in terms of scale, we had Vice President Biden, now President Biden there. We had President Bush there, former presidential candidate, now Senator Mitt Romney. We haven't pushed it at that level because it's not a election year in the sense of a midterm or a presidential election.
Understood. Now you've got, Dr. Scott Gottlieb will be there as well,
yes,
talking about COVID. And then, I'm curious about what he will touch upon, and then also about some of the precautions that you might be taking, getting back to in-person events.
Well, I want to applaud Scott for a couple of things. He's always measured and common sense in his orientation. He's become a close friend. He's written a new book. When I was thinking about 3 weeks ago, the Delta variant and concerned, and we were actually even thinking about potentially moving the conference, he assured me not to do that because of the COVID numbers in New York and also the fact that the Delta variant would start its burning out by our conference. And that's now starting to happen. If you look at those Delta variant numbers, they're coming down. And so I will channel Scott Gottlieb for you here and say, unfortunately, we're going to be living with Delta variants or other variants of COVID-19 for the foreseeable future, a result of which we have to get on with life, take safety measures, precautions, if you will, but to go forward. And I think him and Andy Slavitt are going to be talking about that at our event.
Now, you've also had first-rate entertainment at these events, some major names in terms of bands. Anything like that this year?
Yeah, the Chainsmokers are coming.
Oh, wow.
So I always like to pick not to pick on you or me, but we're getting longer in the tooth. So I always want to pick the band where the father can go to the teenage daughter or son and say, hey, they got the so-and-so coming, and then the kids actually know who the band is. And so we've got
thank you for that. When
we've
you have
got the Chainsmokers this year. So I'm going to be name dropping the Chainsmokers for the next 2 weeks.
That's fantastic. Let's end on a fun note here. Bill Hader's Saturday Night Live impression. What'd you think? I thought it was a little over the top. You?
Well, I mean, he's got some memes out there that are pretty popular. I will say that I ran into Lorne Michaels at a Yankee Met game at Yankee Stadium after they were blowing me up on Saturday Night Live. And I looked over at him and he looks at me. He goes, wait, you're actually Anthony Scaramucci. I said, yeah, it's hard to recognize me, right? Because the other guy wasn't using enough hairspray and his tie wasn't tight enough.
Too funny.
At which point he cracked up. And I'll tell you one of the great benefits of being spoofed on Saturday Night Live. You get the invite. And so Lorne Michaels invited me and my wife and my children to see Saturday Night Live live. And of course, on that night, Alec Baldwin, who plays Donald Trump, or at least used to, they had this, it was Christmas, and they had a tree up. And they said, okay, this is the tree of hate. These are all the people that Donald Trump hates. And of course, there was an ornament with my head on it. And there was Alec Baldwin putting my head on the Christmas tree of hate. And and then, of course, they flashed over to me in the audience, and then the whole place went crazy, and I was beat red. And so I think, listen, there's positives and negatives from getting bounced from the White House like I did. But one of the positives was getting to go to Saturday Night Live.
That's a great story. Great way to finish up. Anthony Scaramucci, that's exactly what we needed. The SALT conference at the Javits Center in New York, September 13th through the 15th. So wonderful. Thank you for joining us, as always, Anthony.
All right. You're terrific. I appreciate it. Okay. We'll see you soon.